You ever hear that expression, Minnesota nice? Maybe, just maybe, it's turning into Minnesota spice because they're angry, they're fed up, they're pissed off, not enough. Because I really don't think we should ever discount anger in our culture. Our American, truly American independent culture, anger. It was anger that set us free. It was anger that stopped all the nonsense we were putting up with when we were just the colonies. Anger. But it takes a lot because that's what we are. We're a do no harm, live and let live kind of society until you push people too far. I think that's starting to happen in, of all places, Minnesota, who a lot of people will tell you are the nicest people in the world until you steal from them. So the reaction has been interesting. So we'll get to that. And the media reaction, how would they cover the Minnesota fraud stories and the other stories popping up in other blue cities across the country? It's exactly as what you would expect. Exactly. And we'll wrap up today by talking about my favorite story of the day. Amazon drones are here. They've always been here. They've been testing them in test markets for a long time now. But a certain Dallas suburb has been seeing a lot of Amazon drone deliveries and pickups, apparently. And it's driving some residents crazy. They say they can't stand the buzzing. I bet you they're not going away. Anyway, we'll see what you feel about that one. Thanks for finding the Wicked Radio live stream. Live on the stream on X and YouTube and Facebook, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Put your notifications on. Then it lives on as a replay and also the audio podcast, wherever you like to get those. Let's get right to it. All right, let's start off with, this was my favorite reaction. There were a lot of them. If you paid attention to Minnesotans, oh yeah, their reaction to the fraud story. A lot of them had said, we told you. We've been trying to tell people about this. We knew it was happening. We knew. There are even some whistleblowers who say, we knew what was going on. Nobody picked up the story. Now that it's been exposed, and by the way, that Nick Shirley video has over 120 million impressions across all platforms. It's a massive, massive story, despite the fact that mainstream news barely picked this up or is late to the game, but who cares? They don't matter anyway. This was my favorite reaction, though. Now, when I see a guy running in what appears to be a blizzard, getting his miles in the morning, recording his thoughts while he's running over a bridge, I tend to take him at his word. This guy means business. He's pissed.
I want to be proud to say I'm from Minnesota again. We welcomed people into this community, into this state, and they're stealing from us. They're stealing from you. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care what political affiliation you claim to be a part of. This child care center fraud is an abomination, and it should upset every single Minnesotan. People that steal from you are not your friend.
I mean, that's it, isn't it? I mean, there's a guy, and he said it right there. Usually when you run into people who are saying, I don't care who you voted for, that's an independent-minded kind of person, which is probably like the way you are, right? I don't care what you feel for, but this is not. But people who steal from you are not your friends. How many people now, truly, even the ones who were saying, we knew this was going on, we tried to tell them, how many people in that state just wanted to mind their own business are truly, and I mean every sense of the word, pissed off? A lot of them. But I would venture to say, still not enough. That's what it's going to take. Now, that guy's a little extreme. I mean, he's pissed off while running in a blizzard over a bridge, God love him, and recording his thoughts. I don't know who he is, but he's great. But there are hundreds and thousands of reactions like that. And then people who never would record their thoughts or aren't even on social media, they're pissed off too. And in other cities as well. It's going to take that. And I know the general reaction has been, I don't like all this anger. I don't like all this anger in the country. And I understand that. I get it, right? Sometimes it takes that. Sometimes it just does. If we didn't get angry, we would still be a British colony. If we didn't get angry, we would still have slavery in the world. If we weren't angry, we would still get ripped off everywhere, even worse than we are right now. It's important if you focus it in the right direction. And you should be angry at the media reaction. Although we can't claim to be surprised by this. This is exactly, it's like you and I could have written this script to the media reaction to the massive fraud story when they finally got into their news desks in their newsrooms, past the weekend. Here's the MSNB, what is it called now? MS Now, used to be MSNBC. Here's their reaction from their analyst, their expert. Listen to this.
The question is, why is this a priority in a different kind of way? The politicization of the DOJ and the FBI is undeniable. So whether they are reliable narrators is the big question. And this is what happens when you weaponize and politicize federal agencies that are not meant to be, politicized. And I think the American people are right to ask the question, well, can we trust you? And that's a sad thing.
Nobody's asking that question. Nobody but her. And you love that, right? These are the ones now claiming that the Department of Justice has been weaponized. The same one that went after a former president and invaded his house in a raid, right? That sent many of his political friends to jail. But she thinks the Department of Justice is weaponized now because they're uncovering fraud in a state that they really need to hold on to. It's just a bunch of crap. But again, so predictable. You knew exactly what they were going to say. But I will say, even I was a little bit surprised at Tim Walz. Tim, tough guy Tim. You know, I love this guy. He's always full of bluster. And he's like, I'm gonna prove how tough I am. People who talk like that and go out of their way to try to prove to you how tough they are, they never are. In fact, they're the most dangerous people in society you'll ever run into. I mean that. People who are just freakazoids who pretend to be tough always do the most damage. This guy's a perfect example. So we had a press conference yesterday, and he said, fraud happens everywhere. But the most damning statement actually came from a couple of days ago when he saw that this was coming. Maybe he didn't see the Nick Shirley expose to expose all this stuff, but he saw that they were cracking down on this from that Department of Justice. This is truly amazing to me, what he said. And again, this wasn't yesterday. This was I think even before this expose was
This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy.
You got that, everybody? It's not massive fraud to the tune of possibly billions. Possibly. It's white supremacy. This goes back to what I had for a theme yesterday. It's the name calling. It's always the name calling. Always, every single time. But nobody cares anymore. When you take away this threat they have, the worst thing you can be called is an Islamophobe or a racist or a homophobe or a transphobe or any other phobe they want to throw at you. It doesn't matter anymore because they went to the well too often and everybody sees that it's a freaking scam. Call us whatever the hell you want. Fraud is fraud. But it's white supremacy, right? And the daycare centers, let's just focus on them, that have ripped off people, taxpayers, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars in that particular case. They're being targeted. Right. Now I understand why Minnesotans are so pissed off. Now I get it. And I think they should be more pissed. Everybody should be as pissed off as they are. They really should be. Anger matters. Anger gets things done if you focus it in the right way. Not in violence. Nobody's advocating violence, but anger and angry enough to do something about it. You know who else is angry? And this is interesting. I know and I get this. Part of that anger is, I've heard this a lot since this story broke, and it's still the top headline in the world right now. Somebody better go to jail. Somebody or somebody's, plural, people better go to jail. And I totally get that. Along with that, though, is like this, same Department of Justice with Pam Bondi and Harmeet Dillon, who's interesting, who's the Assistant Attorney General. They've been really on defense mode after this. They've been pretty much out there a lot over the past couple of days saying we are doing something about it. In fact, it was interesting. Harmeet Dillon, who's fantastic, by the way. You should follow her on X if you haven't already. She's the Assistant Attorney General. It's interesting. She was on social media and doing interviews on podcasts a lot yesterday to defend what they're doing. She's calling it a false narrative. She says, and this is her latest, the Minnesota fraud is going to be the Justice Department's focus until all perpetrators are brought to justice. Okay? And she reposted this. Minnesota fraud's a top priority. Under Attorney General Pam Bondi, 99 indictments have already come down and will continue as we pursue justice for all Americans. Interesting. So I can't exactly say they're not doing anything, but I think they're hearing you and hearing me and everybody else in that we want a lot more. I mean, how do you stop the fraud unless these people pay a price? How do they? You have to send some people to jail. It's going to have to happen. You're going to have to deport a lot of people. It's going to have to happen. This cannot exist anymore. And that's where that anger comes into place. People are fed up, and it's time to take action to demand results. And when an expose gets over 120 million impressions across all social media, yeah, it's going to get results. There's no doubt about that. And as it should. So what do you do? Don't just take the news, do something about it. I tell you every single day on here, what do you do about it? Well, you demand that even if you're not involved with Minnesota, you're listening in California right now, or you're in Wyoming, or Massachusetts, or New Hampshire, or Alabama, or Florida. It doesn't matter. This is a national story for all of us. Reach out to those elected representatives. Reach out to the useless rhinos, or the corrupt Democrats, or whoever represents your district, and drop a line. I swear, they'll never hear my voice. It does. Be aware of this kind of stuff. Repost it and demand action. Enough people get that word out there, and it does matter. I promise you, it does matter. So, Minnesota spice, not enough. But I would keep an eye on this because I don't think it's going to stop. I mean, I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not good at predictions. But I'm getting a feeling, and you may be too, that this one's not going away. This may be a turning point because it affects so many different stories, right? It's not just the fraud and the tax money that's being wasted and the outright theft, for sure. But there's another real inflection point that's going on here, and I think it's based on that pushback. This might have been the straw. It really might have been where people have just had enough and they demand action. So that's a really good thing. And it also involves all the other issues that this same Justice Department, the same administration has been working on. Look, let's be honest about this and be the adults in the room. This makes this administration's argument for deportation a lot stronger. It makes their case a lot easier. It makes it a lot easier for ICE to justify if they were, let's just say, go into these Somali communities and find out who's legal, who's not, who shouldn't be here, who has perpetrated fraud and is here on a humanitarian visa, to get them out. It's tough to argue against that now. It really is. So this just made their job a lot easier. So this fraud case just isn't about the money. It's about many, many things. It's an inflection point. It is a turning point. I think it matters. People have had enough. This might have been the one because it's so obvious, obviously. All right. Let's get out of that for a second and get into something that's happening in real life, although that's real life too. Amazon drones are here. What do you mean, Bill? They've already been here. I know. I get it. They've been in test experiments, but the biggest test market happened over the Christmas season, and it's a suburb in Texas. Let me get to the story here. Amazon's Prime Air drones took off from a Richardson facility, Texas, early December. Prime members with items up to 5 pounds in a 7 to 8 mile radius for $4.99. So what they're saying is for an extra $5, you can get a drone delivery. Why would you want to do that? Just because it's cool? No, it's fast. During daylight and good weather, it's an MK30 model, apparently, if you're into drones, hovering and winching down packages through, though locals are griping about it. Now, the locals' gripe is the interesting part of this whole thing, which makes the story. So they're happening a lot. What are they griping about? They're griping about the buzz. Now, I don't know about you. This particular sound in my neighborhood would drive me out of my mind. Here's a little sample of that. And you're saying, well, that's not that bad. What's the big deal? That was from a couple of houses over. It actually looked like it was looking at a different development. Imagine like 5 of those at once coming to your neighborhood. It sounds like an invasion. A lot of the residents in that suburb are saying that it's driving them nuts. They can't stand the buzzing. Some of those same residents, if you read the articles and follow up, they're saying, although it is pretty cool. And there's what I think is happening here. So I don't think the Amazon drones are going away if you don't happen to like those. It's one of those things where you got to weigh inconvenience over convenience and cost. We will do anything if it's convenient. That's how Amazon took off in the first place, right? And let's admit it. You may not like Jeff Bezos. You may not like the whole idea of Amazon. And remember, the original pushback was it's putting malls and moms and pops out of business. You know how it did? Because it's a better business model. Sure, there are problems. Sometimes the package doesn't arrive. It's rare. Sometimes you get the wrong thing. You can return. But for the most part, let's admit it. Amazon freaking works. It does. And it got a lot of people through COVID when they couldn't go outside if you were, unfortunately, in one of those lockdown cities. It works. It's convenient, and we love convenience. So I don't know. I would imagine that as there's going to be more and more Amazon quick drop-offs where they winch the thing down, like under 5 pounds or something. If you can get that immediately, like within an hour, and apparently that's the selling point here, those aren't going away anytime soon. So I guess the end result is going to be, if you don't like the noise, eventually down the road as a consumer, all right, support the delivery service, whether it's like somebody independent or maybe Target's drones or Walmart's drones that promise and start selling noise-free drones. Probably. I guess you can support them, but I don't know if this is going away anytime soon. It's just way too convenient. I did have a question, though, and one concern. What happens when there's Amazon drones and there's Target drones and DHS drones and Walmart drones, and they're all fighting for space? We have drone dogfights in the neighborhood. I don't know what's going to happen, but like anything, we'll get used to anything. So weigh it. You like the convenience over the noise? It's probably going to be here for a while. And I've already seen the pushback. And this was in the same article I was reading where a lot of neighbors were saying, I would never do that because I hate the buzzing. Okay, fine. You're still going to hear the buzzing if your next door neighbor is getting an Amazon drone delivery. So you didn't even order it, but you're going to hear the noise. Anyway, it is here. Technology. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Maybe they'll cut down to the buzzing pretty soon. I don't know. All right, the takeaway, the Minnesota fraud story is not going away. That should make you feel good. That means people are pissed off and they're going to do something about it. And the pressure is on. Oh, they're feeling it. Otherwise, the assistant attorney general and the attorney general wouldn't be posting so much about what they're doing to bust up fraud and, in fact, leading that into the voter rolls. That's another issue this involves with. They're hearing the anger. They're feeling the pressure, and that's a good thing. We're paying their salaries to do something. Stay on them to make sure that they do. It's a good thing. The story's not going away. It's that big. And the drones? I don't know. Get used to them. Thanks for hanging out with me with Wicked Radio, the live stream, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Time every single day. Put your notifications on if you're on X, and then it airs on in the replay on X and on Facebook and on YouTube. Audio podcast, too. Thank you so much for the subscriptions over the holidays. Audio still rules, I guess, because that's growing and growing. Just look for Wicked Radio with Bill Adams. Spotify, you got to press like on that. That's their follow button. iHeart, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find them. That's where you find me. Getting closer to the end of the year. Oh, New Year's Eve is on its way. Whatever. It's Tuesday. Make it a great one. I'll talk to you tomorrow.